There's a truth that, after many years, I finally found the courage to admit, you never asked me to stay. And I've thought about that more than I probably should. Not because it hurt the most, but because it completely changed how I define love. That day, there was no moment when you reached for my hand, no trembling voice asking me to reconsider, no final promise offered in an attempt to repair what was already broken. You just stood there, silent, still like a lake without a single ripple. And just like that, you let me go. At the time, I was completely lost. A part of me craved resistance from you. I wanted you to fight. I wanted you to prove that I mattered enough for you to hold on. I wanted to feel that my leaving would cost you something. Because I grew up believing that love had to be loud. That love raised its voice when it was afraid. That love refused every ending. But you didn't. You didn't resist. You accepted. And somehow, that acceptance hurt me in a way I was never prepared for. For a long time, I convinced myself that it was because you didn't love me enough. That if someone truly loved you, they would try harder than that. I replayed that moment over and over in my mind, waiting for a different version of you, a version that never actually existed. But time has a way of softening even the sharpest thoughts. And slowly, I began to see a different truth behind your silence that day. You didn't ask me to stay, not because you didn't care, but because you understood something I hadn't yet learned. That love isn't proven by how tightly you hold on to someone, but by how deeply you respect who they are. You understood that my leaving wasn't an act against you. It was a moment where I needed to choose myself. And instead of turning my choice into a weapon, you treated it gently. You didn't make me the villain. You didn't label my leaving as betrayal. You let me walk away. Without dragging any chains of shame or guilt behind me. That is a quiet kind of strength. Anyone can beg, anyone can cling when they're afraid of being alone. But it takes extraordinary courage to love someone enough to let them walk freely out of your life. There were nights afterward when I wondered if you regretted it. If there was ever a moment you wished you had said something, anything at all, but no, you never reached out to rewrite the ending. You let our story stop exactly where it was meant to, unfinished, unforced. And because of that kindness, I never learned how to hate you. I never had to brace myself against accusations, never had to defend why I left. You gave me peace, even in the middle of loss. Years later, when someone asks me about you, I don't talk about a tearful goodbye. I talk about your calm. I talk about how safe it felt to be loved without pressure. It's rare to meet someone who doesn't try to control your future. You never used the word forever to cage me. You never demanded guarantees. You loved me in each present moment, fully, honestly. And when that moment ended, you let it end, without drama. Sometimes I wonder if that was the purest form of love I've ever touched, not because it lasted forever, but because it didn't try to survive at any cost. You never asked me to stay. And because of that, I carry our love lightly, not as a failure, not as something taken from me, but as something that existed for exactly as long as it needed to, without bitterness, without resentment, only gratitude. Because being loved without being held hostage by emotion taught me the most important lesson of my life. Real love does not demand. It does not chase out of fear. It trusts. And even now, long after we've gone our separate ways, that trust still echoes. You never asked me to stay, and somehow that made this love more honest than any plea ever could.